What's up, you guys? I've dialed up a fun one for us. We are looking at this guy. This is the Ruger American, but not your average Ruger American. This is the Ruger American Go Wild Edition. It has quite a few features that your standard Ruger American doesn't. So for just $100 more than a Ruger Predator, you're getting quite a lot. First, you get your Picatinny rail. That's worth about 50 bucks already. You get a paint job on the stock, which I guess is fine. Cerakote on the barrel and action is a really nice addition because it's going to make it just a lot more weather resistant. You got a muzzle brake if you're into that sort of thing. And by far, no question, the biggest upgrade to the Ruger American Go Wild version is right there. Oh shoot, I forgot to put it in. Right there. This is an a significantly upgraded magazine. It clips in easily every single time. It is absolutely rigid. It's not rattling around. I'm told that this dramatically improves feeding on the Ruger American, which I would say is my #1 complaint about the standard Ruger American. All right, let's jump right to the fun stuff. We are getting into the accuracy test of this Ruger American Go Wild. But we're gonna level it up with something that I am just so curious to see what's gonna happen. This rifle is chambered in, you guessed it, 7mm PRC, the still brand new cartridge. I love 7PRC, and this is the least expensive 7PRC you can find right now. I wanna know how it's going to shoot. My other Ruger American shoots awesome. I mean, for an inexpensive gun, I'm shooting sub-MOA with it. But the problem with 7PRC is there's really only one load that's commonly out there. Maybe you'll find match or something like that, but it's the Hornady Precision Hunter. And so I hope it shoots well in this gun. We're gonna test that one load with not just this Ruger American though. We're also gonna shoot the exact same ammo out of my custom 7PRC that I built before the cartridge was ever even announced. This thing with the scope, suppressor, everything is over $6,000. So we're gonna compare a $650 rifle to a $6,500 rifle and see which one will shoot that load better. Let's find out. If you'll notice, if you watched my 450 Bushmaster video, you know what happened right here. So I've leveled up my iPro game with these gaiters. I have a link in the description. These ones are cool because they're called photochromic. So when the sun comes up, they turn into sunglasses. And when it gets darker, they're totally clear. So it's awesome no matter what time of day I come shoot. They've been really nice. Quick note as I'm editing this thing. Just thought it was interesting. Using this Hornady Precision Hunter, the box advertises 3,000 feet per second. I was getting 29-25, but it might speed up a little bit as the gun is broken in more. However, with a gun 4 inches shorter of a barrel, my custom, I was only losing 55 feet per second on the ammo. 7PRC, at least in this Precision Hunter ammo, seems to do really well with short barrels. It's really fascinating to me, but I have to preface this with one thing. So we're looking at one load, right? One load. Sometimes a gun will do better with one load and not with another. And while I don't see guns shooting 6-inch groups that suddenly you change the load and it's shooting half an inch, I don't think I've ever seen that. It's very common to go from 1.5 inches, even 2 inches, down to a 1/2 inch if it finds a load that it does like. The reason though that I think the test is valid in this situation and why I think this test is interesting is because this is 7PRC. For hunting this fall, you're gonna find one load on the shelves. And so if you buy a gun in 7PRC, you're one of those new people, what if it doesn't like the ammo? There's no other choice. There's no other place to look unless you're a hand loader. So let's look at it. Ruger American, first group, 1.1 inches and 1.43 inches. Now I did do more shooting, but this is kind of representative of what that gun can do. Then the gun that costs more than 5 times the price, 1.89 inches and exactly 1.89 inches. The cheap gun destroyed the gun that costs way, 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 way more with the only factory load that is available. So the accuracy of the Ruger Americans in general, I've had great results from. This is my standard Ruger American in 6.5 Creedmoor, and I can very reliably shoot 0.8-inch groups with my hand loads in this gun. Even with factory ammo, I'm shooting very consistently sub-MOA. I haven't seen many accuracy issues coming out of Ruger Americans. I always hear from you guys and how your guns are performing, and Ruger Americans are just pretty consistent shooters. And I will say that Ruger doesn't have an accuracy guarantee, but the build quality and the consistency has been pretty good. Let's talk for a second about this scope, because this scope is new to me, and man, it impressed the heck out of me. Now, I got too high of rings. I'm going to have to change these rings out. It's a little bit ridiculous how high it is off of there. But the scope itself is neat. This is the Element Optics. This is the Helix 2-16. When you first look through it, the image right here, this glass at the end, it's huge. It looks like you're on a widescreen TV. Like, it just looks like a big, bright, pretty image. It's not like, you know, the tiny little thing you're trying to look in and see. So that was the first thing I noticed is, man, that's a big, bright image. This is a capped turret scope. And I generally don't shoot capped turrets. I also generally don't shoot second focal plane. Usually I'm shooting first focal plane. And Element definitely does have some great first focal plane optics. But this one I think is fascinating because a lot of you guys have been asking me, saying like, hey, I'm not shooting crazy long range. I want something that's second focal plane so that the reticle stays the same size as I zoom in. And for that, man, I don't know if you can beat this Element Helix 2-16 by 50. So pretty cool scope so far. But we gotta talk about feeding. As I mentioned on the Ruger American Predator, or just the standard Ruger American, I love so much about these guns, except I don't like the feeding. The way the magazine clips in, you got to really kind of beat it in there, and sometimes like, is it in all the way? Is it not? And often I'll bring a cartridge forward, I'll slide the bolt forward, and it'll just kind of catch and stop, and I've kind of got to go back and forward. I love the magazine on this Ruger American Go Wild. It is beefy and like fits in there very tight. That is undoubtedly the best plastic magazine I've ever seen on a rifle. That is how it should go. It fits perfect and is totally solid. No rattle, no wobble at all. I expected then that this would fix the feeding problems on the Ruger American that I've had. Again, they're not horrible, but the Ruger American just doesn't feed quite 100%. Unfortunately, I can't say that that's true. I still found myself, I would go forward with the bolt and it would just get locked and I'd have to kind of come back and go forward again. I think it's the feed ramp where it's going from the magazine, the very front, that's kind of pushing the tip of the bullet up into the chamber. I think it's just too steep of an angle. And so I'm frustrated that the number one thing they didn't fix. Now, the Ruger American Go Wild is offering quite a few other things though. So, okay, if that's not fixed, it's not perfect, but it is okay. Let's look at the trigger. This Go Wild edition uses the exact same trigger as the other Ruger American models. I think they call this the Ruger Marksman model. It's pretty comparable to a Savage AccuTrigger, and it's when they were created, they really changed the market and really upped the quality. By today's standards, looking at a lot of the competitors, it's not that great of a trigger. I mean, there is a noticeable set of creep before the trigger actual breaks. You'll feel a before it goes. It's user adjustable from 3 to 5 pounds. It's not a terrible trigger, but it's not going to make you instantly a better shooter either. Looking at the stock, this is the same stock that you would see on the Predator other than the camo color. overall, it's a fine, very traditional kind of stock lines. It has quite a bit of play in the forend. You can see it doesn't take much pressure at all to move the stock. So if you have a bipod on, if you're kind of pushing to the side or something as you shoot, it could very easily have the stock touch the barrel. In fact, I can almost guarantee that often it will. And that can be an accuracy issue. Sometimes you get a gun that can shoot very well from, you know, in a contained kind of test, but then you go shoot it hunting and you miss the shot. And it's things like that that make it happen. That's why when I'm testing inexpensive hunting rifles, you'll always see me use a sandbag at the front instead of a bipod, because it's going to kind of spread out the weight on the forend of the stock to give it the best advantage possible. The action on the Ruger American, other than the feeding, is pretty decent. I mean, it feels good. Usually the bolt lift is a little heavier on a Ruger American than you might see on your typical Remington 700. And the reason that you might see it being just a little bit more stiff on a Ruger American is it has, you know, a shorter 70-degree bolt throw, because as you'll see, this is a 3-lug bolt, meaning 1, 2, 3. Your more common rifle, a Remington 700 style, is a 2-lug bolt generally. Then the recoil pad is decent here. There is some movement to it. It'll do something, but not a whole lot. There are a lot worse recoil pads on the market, but they're also better. So, looking at this thing overall, what are the thoughts on the Ruger American Go Wild? Well, if we're comparing this gun to a standard Ruger American, I say it's kind of an easy choice. If you have the budget, for $100 more, you get nice looking Cerakote, which can help protect it over time, though the blued barrel on my standard Ruger American has not had any issues and I haven't babied it. We get a camo coat on the stock, which I guess is fine. A muzzle brake. But the real feature that I think makes the whole thing worth it is the magazine. For me, just having this upgraded magazine in a Ruger American is probably worth the $100. It does make it a lot more reliable, but on the con side, the problem is the feeding. If I had just one issue about Ruger Americans, it is the feedings. It's not 100% reliable. But for the price, it's tough to beat. Hey, before you go, I just want to remind you that we've launched Backfire Plus on the website. It just launched a few days ago. I have online courses for you on there on reloading, on scoping your rifle. We have the Backfire Mancast, a community where you can go in there and talk to me, ask questions, and the other really intelligent people we have in that community, and all my downloads, cheat sheets, all that kind of stuff. Check it out at backfire.tv/plus. See you guys.